Hello, and welcome! After countless of Mario and Zelda titles for over a decade and a half, in 2015, Nintendo decided to try something new and introduced us to the world of Splatoon, and it was a massive success. 2 years later, they decided to try something new again. Did they strike gold? Well, ARMS is a pretty unique fighting game, using motion controls to throw arms at one another. Nintendo is the developer when it comes to incorporating gimmicks into their games. Sometimes these work out really well, and sometimes they're Star Fox Zero. But the appeal and the visuals of ARMS really caught my interest back in the early Switch days. I will say that I got my fair share of enjoyment out of this game with a lot of good friends. However, I feel like this game went under a lot of people's radars, unfortunately. With Min Min being added to Super Smash Bros. Later this month, I figured now is a good time to look back on this game and talk about it. So what is ARMS? Is it worth playing this somewhat forgotten fighting game? Well, let's go over it. Okay, so before I begin, I recorded my own footage for this review. However, my capture card is pretty old and a little bit outdated, so it doesn't record 60 FPS. And this was the result. So, some of my footage might be from other sources. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin. ARMS was first revealed during the Nintendo Switch presentation on January 12, 2017, giving a tease of the motion-controlled gameplay as well as some of the characters. On May 17th, an ARMS-specific direct showed off much more information about the game, providing a breakdown of the mechanics, abilities, and characters. Following Splatoon's success, ARMS had a free trial period known as the Global Test Punch, which gave players a chance to try the game between May 26th to the 28th, and again through June 2nd to 4th. ARMS launched on June 16th throughout North America, Europe, and Japan. It also launched alongside the neon yellow Joy-Cons. I really like this color. ARMS was developed by Nintendo EPD. Since 2015, this is where the main branch of Nintendo's games have been made. The most notable ones being Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon series. ARMS was directed by Kenta Sato, Masaki Ishikawa, and Shintaro Jikamaru, and was produced by Kosuke Yabuki. The first concept to ARMS was the idea of a fighting game where the camera takes place behind the fighter. The idea of the extendable arms was then added so the players could see the attacks being made. Yabuki also took inspirations from Mario Kart, stating that the players can see objects in the distance and are able to make decisions on where to turn based on what they see. Nintendo first brainstormed characters such as Mario and Link as fighters, however, they felt the concept of extending arms didn't work with them. They also considered using the cast for Punch-Out, however, to avoid confusion of that franchise, they decided to go with an original cast. But you know who would have made a good character? Lanky! Come on, Nintendo, bring him back from the dead! For most of the cast's art design, the arms were drawn first and the rest of the body was added later. Earlier designs had characters using external devices for controlling their arms. However, this was changed to their actual arms sometime during development. Masaki Ishikawa, the art director, stated that his inspirations for the character design stemmed from Dragon Ball and Akira. ARMS received mixed and positive reception. Most criticisms fall on the lack of content to offer upon the game's launch and the game's difficult learning curve. The game was nominated for several awards and even won NAVGTR's Original Fighting Game Award in 2018. As of September 30th, 2018, ARMS has sold over 2.1 million copies. In New York Comic-Con 2017, Dark Horse Comics and Nintendo announced that ARMS would be getting a graphic novel series. This novel series is being written by Ian Flynn, who's been known as the chief writer for the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. This was slated for fall of 2018, and then it was delayed to 2019. And up until now, I've honestly thought that Nintendo just swept this under the rug and canceled it due to ARMS' lukewarm reception, but actually, as of February 2020, it's still confirmed that this graphic novel's happening. ARMS got multiple free updates throughout its first year of launch, introducing new characters and a few additional modes, similar to Splatoon's approach of adding content. Springman was added as an assist trophy for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and on June 29, 2020, Min Min joined the fighter roster. So, ARMS is a fighting game. Duh. But instead of traditional style games that require combo presses and directional inputs, you have a few different maneuvers. Simply, you can throw your left fist, your right fist, or both fists to grab an opponent, or you can block attacks, dash, and jump. Those are the basics to the game. If you hold the jump or dash button, or if you shield for a second, you can charge your fists to deal additional elemental damage. So there's a pretty hefty learning curve to ARMS, and the game can be played with multiple control schemes. You can play with the Joy-Cons in the grip position, similar to handheld or Pro controllers, and play with traditional button controls. If you hate yourself enough, you can also play with having one Joy-Con on its side. But honestly, in my opinion, the most fun way to play this game is to use the thumb-up grip and using the motion controls. I know that everyone will agree with this statement, and I will say that sometimes the motion controls can be slightly inaccurate, and if you were to go pro in this game, I would advise traditional inputs. But if you just want to have silly fun with a friend, this is what makes ARMS stand out from your usual fighting game. Before each round, you can select which weapon you want to use for your left and right arm. Each character has a signature 3 to start off with. There are 11 types of arms: the curve, the glove, the hammer, the heavy, multi-shot, whip, missile, beam, shield, nunchuck, and umbrella. And Misango has 2 unique arms that aren't like the rest. Arms come in a variety of weights, with the lighter ones being faster but will be deflected if collided by a heavier arm. Heavier arms, while slower, do additional damage. Arms can also come with elemental effects such as fire, electric, ice, wind, stun, explosion, blind, and poison, each adding an element to strategy based on who you're fighting. Admittedly, I overlooked the elemental attributes when playing this game. I was more focused on what type of arms just worked for me. There are a total of 15 characters to pick from, and I feel that there's a type of character that fits everybody's playstyle. Springman is your overall rounded character. Ribbon Girl is much more agile. Master Mummy is more of your slow and tanky type. Some characters are better from a distance, some work better up close. I'm a Ninjara main myself. I love the quick and fast style characters, and being able to teleport and avoid attacks is pretty neat. Characters also have their own abilities, such as Twin Tail being able to slow down time against opponents' attacks, or Helix is able to duck into a puddle. But by far the best ability goes to Bite and Bark, simply because, just look at Bark. He's a freaking cute robot cop dog.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Instant 10 out of 10, they're my secondary. Each fighter has a unique stage associated with them. These stages have some gimmicks and can offer defensive and offensive strategies. Visually, they're all pretty unique and different from one another, but some of the arenas feel a little simplistic and only offer elevation differences. Some items will be dropped in the arena. HP and Rush Juice will refill your HP or Rush respectively if you wait within the radius, and sometimes a Fire or Shock Bomb will be dropped. You can punch these to try to get them closer to your opponents. As you fight, you slowly start to build up your Rush gauge. Once fully charged, at any time you can unleash a rapid attack. If your opponent doesn't shield this, landing one of these can give you the advantage in the round. Your meter stays where it's at in subsequent rounds if you didn't get the chance to use it. It's always best to try to get it in if it will make or break the round. So the main focus in ARMS is 1v1 matches. However, with 3 to 4 players it can become a free-for-all, being able to change targets by press of a button, or 2v2 when you and your teammate are tethered together. I kinda don't like this. If your teammate is grabbed, you're gonna go flying as well, and it just kinda becomes a big grab fest. The game also features a mode called V-Ball, which is basically volleyball, and the first one to get 5 wins. Hoops is where you and your opponents compete to get 10 dunks. Both of these modes also ends after a time limit, and the one with the higher score wins. Skill Shot lets you and your opponents punch targets and get the most points during the duration of time. Headlock Scramble pins players against one another and can acquire the Headlock Mask, giving them 6 arms to use and become lethal. This is included in the 2.0 update. There's also a 1 vs 100 challenge, pinning you against 100 creatures known as the Cell. In Party Mode, there's also Versus Headlock, which is a co-op mode defeating the Headlock CPU. Most of these modes are just okay. They aren't terrible by any means, but they're not just exciting as 1v1 matches. I appreciate that the game does offer us a variety of side modes. Even if they aren't really anything too special, it can be fun to change up the pace, but honestly, when one of these modes is selected for me in online play, I'm just kinda... The game offers a Grand Prix story mode, if you want to call it that pins you against 10 CPU opponents to be the best ARMS World Champion. If you want to be competitive, there is a ranked online mode, and there's the online party mode. And I now know what loneliness and misery feels like. I jest, ARMS is actually not as dead as I thought it was going to be. Along with Mario Kart and Splatoon, ARMS is actually one of Nintendo's best online experiences, where I've never experienced any lag or dips in frames. I really love the lobby system in this game. As you're waiting for your next round, you can see what the other players are doing in real time. There was also Event Party Crashes, which pinned 2 characters up for tournaments. However, I missed all of this since I haven't really picked up the game since launch, with the exception of a few rounds between friends here and there. With a lot of fighting, multiplayer, and party games, I think the most fun you'll have out of it is if you have the right people to play with. And I think that's one of the things that kept ARMS back. it didn't really have much to offer in single-player content. It's kind of an unfair criticism because of the genre, but Splatoon's single-player mode is a lot different from its online mode. Whereas ARMS, it feels kind of the same, but less enjoyable. The Grand Prix has standard matches, but there's no motivating incentive for me to ever finish or go back to it after 1 or 2 playthroughs. ARMS also has a higher bar of entry to understand the mechanics of the game, ruling out more casual occasions than with games you would find like Mario Kart. Since the 3.2.0 update, ARMS now offers achievement badges. These can be unlocked by performing certain requirements, and you can post these on your fighter icon to show off your accomplishments. What are the requirements to unlock them? Well, that's where the ARMS wiki comes in, because the game doesn't tell you squat. There are specific achievements, and then there are random achievements that will provide you a random image. Some of these achievements are pretty esoteric too, such as participate in a fight between Ninjara wielding double chakrams and Misagno wielding double scorpions in the temple grounds, for reenacting the title screen for version 4.0. Okay, there are 359 badges with the 360th badge for achieving all of them, but some of them tied to Party Clash events that are no longer attainable. So good luck out there, completionists. Unlocking these offer in-game currency, which makes acquiring money way easier. However, your records prior to the 3.2.0 update aren't carried over. Look, it's a nice feature, and I appreciate all the additional incentive to keep playing, but I just don't have the patience to play 500 rounds with a single Joy-Con. You're awarded currency by playing rounds. You get 1 for playing and 3 for winning. You can use this currency in the gallery, which I'll go over in a bit, but there's also the Get Arms mode. You spend between 50 to 200 points and you get to play a game of Skill Shot with the chance to unlock new arms to use. In this mode, your character has standard arms, and depending on who you're playing, you have a higher chance of unlocking arms for that character. This is kind of a mess. So you can unlock arms that other characters have for your character of choice to use. However, sometimes you can get a duplicate. If you get a duplicate, you get a plus version of that arm, which gives you 10 additional damage that you cannot turn off. This makes it a little unfair if you're playing against someone who doesn't have plus arms. Okay, so there's 15 characters, 14 minus Springtron's shared arms with Springman, times that by 3 equals 42 arms, times that by 14 characters to unlock is 588, times that by 2 for getting the plus versions of them, and subtract the 42 arms that the cast started off with, and 1,134 arms that need to be collected. Yeah. Okay, so I found out while researching that after the 5.1.0 update, ARMS offers a hidden tournament mode. You can access this on the main menu by pressing the right thumbstick, L and R. In this mode, you don't earn any currency or badges, but you can play the game where all the characters have all the arms unlocked. If I didn't happen to randomly find this on the wiki, I would have never known this was a thing. There is no plot. Okay, I kid. Kinda. So, when selecting the Grand Prix mode, you're given a brief description of your character that you selected, and your goal is to become the champion of the ARMS World Grand Prix. After you reach the final round, you face off against Max Brass. Since version 5.0, if you're playing a level 6 difficulty or higher, you fight against Dr. Coyle instead. After one of them is defeated, on difficulty 4 or higher, you fight against the Headlock, a creature created by Dr. Coyle who overtakes one of them and gives them full control of their bodies. After they're defeated, your character poses for their award ceremony and you get a cute artwork of them and then roll credits. I will admit, I don't really expect for a convoluted plot in fighting games, but I do wish there was more character and world development, and I think Nintendo did a pretty poor job in immersing players into the new world of ARMS. Or at least that's what I would have said before the 5.1.0 update. Okay, so real talk, along with the inclusion of tournament mode, I had to completely rewrite my script for this part because I almost missed a lot of new lore details. In version 5.1, ARMS included a gallery mode. This included a handful of really cool artworks of the fighters and descriptions for the images. However, the gallery also included 14 ARMS Lab confidential files and 3 files on a secret weapon. So to summarize the lore, how people received the ability to extend their arms is still unknown, but the documents of it date all the way back between 1,500 to 4,000 years prior to the game. Roughly 20% of the people in the ARMS universe have the ability to extend their arms. This also goes for plants and animals. However, most people are born with normal arms, and they get this ability randomly, usually overnight around their early teen years. Puberty is already awful, and it sounds like a nightmare in this universe. Very rarely are babies born with the arms ability. Kid Cobra is an exception to this, and little known is about him. Twintail is also an odd exception, but refuses to have the ARMS lab do testings on her hair. Characters with the ARMS ability also have black spirals around their eye color. The only exception is Mechanica, who uses her robot to fight instead. Interestingly, Dr. Coyle wasn't born with the arms ability, but instead experimented on herself to obtain it. The masks each of the characters wear keep their arms maintained while in a coil shape. Otherwise, their arms turn limpy and uncontrollable at random. The ARMS Lab and League gives these masks out for free for anyone with this condition. The sport of arms fighting dates back 120 years prior to the game, and it started from the Arms Ministry when they developed the masks for people. This then picked up popularity and sponsorship over the years, and the Arms Ministry split into the Arms League and the Arms Lab. Headlock was an experiment at the lab and was intended to be the ideal sparring partner for fighters. This was led by Dr. Coyle. However, Headlock became sentient and escaped. Dr. Coyle let the escaped experiment be, and showed interest in other projects, or suggestively, let it loose on purpose. This is basically the gist of the ARMS universe. I do think the most important thing to a fighting game is that it's fun with a lot of replayability value, rather than having an interesting story. I don't think Street Fighter 2 would be remembered so fondly if punching people around the world overtook the gameplay, but the lack of plot at launch left me wanting to know more, and I'm glad Nintendo finally gave some lore to the world of ARMS, but I do think it was a little too late for most of the player base to really notice or care. I absolutely love the visual direction that ARMS went with. Each of the characters are colorful and unique, and they all feel different from one another. I love the aesthetic blend of action comic books and cartoons, and it really gives the cast a lot of charm. And it's kind of the thing I would expect out of a AAA Nintendo game. The characters are really unique, and it left me wanting to know more about their backstories, and it's kind of a shame that there wasn't much to go off of based on the game's launch. I'm assuming that their characters will be fleshed out more in the graphic novel, and I definitely intend to give it a read whenever it launches. I also love the sketch-like 2D artwork found in the gallery. The environments also offer a nice wide variety, and they all feel different from the next. I really like ARMS' bold yellow and black color palette, and I couldn't imagine the game with any other set of colors. The animations to the characters are super expressive, and they all fit the characters super well. Springman and Ribbon Girl are young and active, Twintail is elegant and sassy, and Helix is just weird. And the cast goes on. The game doesn't offer too many cutscenes within the Grand Prix, besides the ending, but the victory cutscenes at the end of a match are always pretty fun to watch. When I think of a game with a catchy main menu theme, one of my first thoughts immediately goes straight to ARMS. The score all around is pretty good, with each area having its fast-paced sense of action, but besides the main theme, not too many of them stuck out with me. Most of the music crew from Mario Kart 8 made a return to work on ARMS, and I think that was a great decision. The sound effects are also pretty nice, and I don't really know how to put it into words exactly, but just clicking stuff on the main menu and character selections is really satisfying. The sounds of combat are also pretty solid, but nothing really too fascinating to note, but it gets the job done. Would I recommend ARMS? It depends. I love ARMS aesthetically, and I really appreciate the game for what it is. Like most fighting games, if you have a good friend that you love to get competitive with and both take time to get past the game's learning curve, I think you'll certainly have a great time with this game, especially if you both use motion controls and laugh how goofy you both feel. As someone who loves to get competitive with friends, I'm glad I had a positive experience with ARMS. If you also enjoy fighting games and want to try something a little bit different, then I'd maybe recommend this to you. Just take everything that I said in this video into consideration. However, due to the learning curve, I don't think ARMS fits the bill as a casual game to play with friends and family, unless if you're all committed to learning the actual game. Playing single player and online can get stale pretty quickly, and there really isn't much to do. If you don't have a friend or two to play this game with, then I would suggest giving this one a pass. Overall, I really enjoyed replaying this game and seeing the new content that wasn't around at the game's launch. It's a shame that ARMS didn't receive the same reception and fanfare as Splatoon, but I'm glad that the game is finally getting the love it deserves with its new inclusion in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And hopefully, with its inclusion in Smash Bros., people will give this game another look. Thank you so much for watching. This was a lot of fun to put together. What do you think about ARMS? Did you get to play it? And if so, who was your main? Were you happy that Min Min was the ARMS rep selected? If not, who would you pick? Let me know what your thoughts are about the game or my video. I said the word ARMS like 87 times in this video. Thank you again for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content from me in the future, and I hope you all have a great day.